Right, so this video is going to discuss something known as psychographics. Now, psychographics is an audience theory, which means it's very, very useful for discussing audience when analyzing a media text or to ascertain what audience groups you would like to target. So, first question, what are psychographics? Psychographics are effectively a means of categorizing audiences according to their personality traits. Our personalities influence the sort of media texts we enjoy, but also the platforms we enjoy, whether we're into video games or movies or radio or magazines, and what games or what films we enjoy are ultimately in part controlled by our own personalities. Psychographics tries to group them into a kind of meaningful way. But essentially, if I was to sum up psychographics very simply, it would be grouping people by how they think. So let's go through those groups. The first one we're going to talk about is mainstreamers. This is a really easy one. Essentially, anyone who is into or anyone who hears about something very, very popular and instantly wants to be a part of it is someone who is a mainstreamer. They follow the crowd. So the exemplar I've given you here is Avengers Infinity Wars. You've probably heard of it, and that's because it's got the record for the fastest grossing movie of all time in its opening weekend. And that's because it is a film that very much appealed to mainstreamers. It had a huge amount of publicity, but a huge amount of buzz around it, and people spoke about it. And as a result, mainstreamers flocked to see it. Because everyone else was watching it, mainstreamers would feel like they want to as well. The next one is aspirers. Aspirers want to be rich and attractive or successful. They want to have a life or things that are better than they have already. The example I've used here is Vogue magazine, because Vogue is obviously a very high-end fashion magazine, and it appeals to people who want to own the finer things and want to have the finest items of clothing. In fact, even there, through use of the model Rihanna, that's appealing again to aspirers. They may want to be like her. They may want to be as beautiful or as successful or as talented as her. Essentially, aspirers will find themselves attracted to media texts that they feel will either tell them about a lifestyle they want or perhaps help them attain that lifestyle they want. Vogue is a great example because it shows them exactly how to get their hands on the finest fashion items and things like that that will allow them to try and move towards the lifestyle they desire. Next up, we've got reformers. These are a slightly more challenging one to identify, but these are people who want social change. They aren't that impressed by status. They're not impressed by fancy possessions and technology, and they're definitely not impressed by materialistic things like fashion. They make decisions based on their own values. They are very aware of who they are and what they want the world around them to be or how they want to influence it. And as a result, they're very set in the media text that they may consume. You've probably not heard of this exemplar, but I've put a movie here called I, Daniel Blake. It's brilliant. If you get a chance to watch it, I very much would. But it's a fictitious film where it's based loosely on factual events in the UK surrounding the lack of support for people with mental health issues, or in this case, particularly income issues. Basically, the people who require the safety net that some societies deliver to them. This movie very much focused on the fact that the British government was taking away, or this film viewed it as that the British government was taking away a lot of this support. And it was a means of almost shining a spotlight on that issue and trying to inform people whilst also entertaining them. This is the sort of thing reformers would love, because it ultimately is looking at society and trying to inform people of something that it felt should be changed. And many reformers who feel the same way would be drawn to it as a result. Next up, you've got explorers. These are adventurous people who like taking risks. Essentially, any media text that's exciting or promotes going outside of the box and pushing yourself will very much be designed to appeal to explorers. The perfect example I feel is this one here. This is a company called G Adventures. Let me just go back there. G Adventures. They're a travel company, but their whole remit is that they sell holidays for groups of people, guided tours of more remote parts of the world in which you take part in far more active and challenging kind of activities that you might in a normal holiday. They very clearly designed this poster to appeal to those explorers as well, because we have, things such as mountain biking on trails there. You've got kayaking and mountain climbing, or rather mountain hiking, sorry. These are activities that obviously appeal to them, but even, the use of the term, small group active is in bold there, showing that this is just something slightly different. This isn't something where you're going to be sat on a beach, reading a book, getting a tan. And that's why it would appeal to explorers. Explorers want to try and do new things, and are always the ones who want to be trying out new ideas that maybe are not so well explored, if you'll forgive the pun. Next up, you've got succeeders. These are the people who've made it. They're generally going to be quite wealthy, have a good income, and as a result, they desire the finer things in life and can buy them. These are the guys who have a huge amount of disposable income to spend and aren't afraid to spend it on the finer things. So I've put up an advert for an AMG Mercedes here. AMG is like the souped up, super duper fast, expensive version of Mercedes, as if Mercedes weren't expensive enough. But it kind of appeals to that group because it's just showing essentially all of the prestige elements of that product. We've got the car there with its very standout color. In fact, it refers to itself as the green hell. It's very much tied into that color, and the unique color will stand out, which is something that will appeal to a succeeder because they want to show off their success. You've got the very clear Mercedes badge in the bottom corner there. You've got, the AMG badge, which shows that it's the far more expensive version of Mercedes as well. As much stuff on here as possible is trying to show off essentially the prestige of this product. And as a result, it would appeal to a succeeder. So how do we actually use psychographics? When analyzing a media text, you should decide upon a psychographic category or categories that you feel the product will appeal to. So what I'm saying here is essentially you look at the product and you decide, is this going to appeal to mainstreamers or is it going to appeal to aspirers? In fact, it can appeal to a couple. Note I've said categories there. So it might be that product's going to appeal to two separate groups of people. Your job would then be to identify this group or these groups of psychographics that you feel it will appeal to and explain your reasoning. So I'll give you an example, hopefully, to help that make sense. You hopefully have heard of this, but I've put a documentary or the DVD cover for a documentary known as Planet Earth 2 here. It's narrated by David Attenborough, he's a very big name in the UK and has been making these sorts of nature documentaries for a long time. But it has become an international market as well, as in this is available overseas and quite popular overseas as well. Now, Planet Earth 2, because of that, its huge appeal I would argue would appeal to mainstreamers. Essentially, so many people watch Planet Earth 2 that through word of mouth, mainstreamers will be interested in watching it as well. And as a result, they'll flock towards it. But in addition to that, Planet Earth 2 has an episode later on, in fact, one of the last episodes, where it explores climate change and the human's impact on the Earth, on the environment as a whole, basically the damage that people are doing to the environment that it's showing us. And they make a tradition of that. Every show that David Attenborough has narrated for the past few years, one of the episodes will explore damage to climates and the impact on the environment. As a result, I would say this would appeal to reformers as well. It's well known now that there will be elements where it looks at climate change and how humans need to change their ways in order to help the environment. And as a result of this frequently reoccurring element in these shows, aspirers will find it appealing as well. So I would say that Planet Earth, due to its popularity and the fact it's screened in many different countries, will appeal to mainstreamers, and through its inclusive or the content included about climate change and the human's impact into it would appeal to reformers as well. And that'd be a very basic, very succinct psychographic analysis of Planet 2.